Beside me is the all-new 2021 Nissan Rogue. Now, Rogue is Nissan's volume-selling SUV model, squaring up against the Toyota RAV4s and Honda CR-Vs of the world. And let's face it, those models are getting better and better every single year. So, Nissan claims the new Rogue is bigger, better, and better equipped than ever before. But, does it stack up the challenge? Well, let's find out. Now, visually, I like what Nissan has done with the new Rogue. It definitely looks tougher and more truck-like, which helps distinguish it amongst the crowd. However, the real story is definitely in the interior. Now, there are 4 trim levels to choose from: S, SV, SL, and then Platinum at the highest end. Now, prices start at just over 26 grand delivered to your door, which is pretty reasonable. However, we are sitting in an SL model, which is 33 grand. And from where I'm sitting, it seems like money well spent. Now, with the Rogue and its 4 different trim levels, there are a ton of different options and things you can add onto this, but out of the box, the SL is very nicely equipped. This car has an 8-inch touchscreen as standard right here, and it seems pretty nice. It's pretty responsive, and it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard. Actually, while I'm thinking about tech for a second, let's talk about that. Now, the interesting thing is that a lot of choices on the Rogue are a la carte. So say you buy an SV or an SL, but you see that Platinum model and you like some of the stuff it has in there, you can actually add a lot of that back in with a standalone premium package. Now, say, for example, you want the larger 9-inch infotainment display. You can absolutely do that with the premium pack. Likewise, if you want the 10-inch optional heads-up display in the windshield and the bigger fully digital 12-inch display here in the central gauge cluster, you can also add that back in. But as it sits, this SL model is just very nice. Heated steering wheel, heated front seats, independent climate control at all 4 corners. It's just a very comfortable cabin. Beyond that, the caliber of the materials is so much better than previous Nissan products. I mean, take a look around. There's nice wood effect, leather on the dash, contrasting materials. It all feels on the money. It feels really nice, really substantial. You know, this to me feels closer to the Mazda CX-5, which in my opinion is kind of the best of the bunch in terms of interior quality, than it does to previous Nissan models. Definitely a good thing. So it looks pretty good and the interior is pretty nice for the segment, but how does it drive? Well, similarly, it's also quite nice. Now, under the hood is a 2.5-liter inline 4-cylinder engine, non-turbocharged, that produces 181 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. Now, that is quite similar to the Mazda CX-5 standard engine, which is also a 2.5-liter inline 4-cylinder engine, though that does produce 186 and 186 respectively. The difference in the real world is pretty much nil. It's more than adequate to get you by on the day-to-day commute. It does 0 to 60 in just over 8 seconds. I think the more important thing is that engine, paired to Nissan's continuously variable automatic transmission, tends to fall to the wayside in day-to-day driving. Now, I'm up here in a winding road filming this video, so I'm actually using the engine a bit, kind of getting the revs up, if you will, but normally, the engine's very, very quiet. That's definitely a nice thing. It's very smooth, very refined. But what about the MPGs? Well, they're also pretty good. The EPA rates the Rogue, this front-wheel drive model, at 26 mpg city, 34 mpg freeway, and 29 mpg combined. And I can tell you, after driving this thing for a few days, I just fueled this vehicle up right before this shoot. In 4 days, I drove 223.7 miles and used just 7.685 gallons of fuel for a real-world MPG figure of 29.1, which is definitely commendable for a family SUV. Now, it's worth noting that, like the CR-V, RAV4, Mazda CX-5, etc., all-wheel drive is an available option on the Rogue. You can get on any of the 4 trim levels. It's a $1,400 option, standalone option. And for those of you who do want the all-wheel drive, just know that in addition to the $1,400, it does drop your MPGs by around 2 all around. Now, when Nissan threw me the keys to this particular Rogue, they did let me know this is a pre-production model, and to please excuse any quirks. But there are a couple that's worth mentioning. Now, I'm sure these will be ironed out by the time these vehicles arrive on dealership lots across the country, but it is worth noting that this particular car does have a rather annoying dash rattle in the upper left corner whenever you go over about 40 to 45 miles an hour. Excluding the intermittent dash rattle, I'm actually very pleased with the way the Rogue rides. And this is something my girlfriend mentioned as well when she was riding in the passenger seat. This thing is extremely comfortable. The way it goes down the road is just, ooh, it's very nice. This thing will be a great road trip vehicle. Similarly, even though I'm up here in the canyons shooting this review, it does hang on pretty well in the corners. It's not going to fall over or anything like that. Now, excluding all the stuff I have in the trunk that is sliding around making a big racket like that, the Rogue's cabin is very, very quiet. Now, when you're on the interstate or driving at higher speeds in general, the only thing you really notice is some tire hum. There's not really a ton of wind noise, which is something I've complained about in the RAV4, for example. When it comes to these family SUV models, it's really interesting seeing how all the safety tech works in them. You know, I've talked a lot in previous vehicles about, Toyota Safety Sense and Honda Sensing. And for Nissan, it's their ProPilot Assist system. And to be frank, I'm really impressed with it. It's worth noting that every trim level except for the basic S does have Nissan ProPilot Assist. That S model, though, still does have some safety goodies in it, like automatic forward collision braking, blind spot monitors in the mirrors, as well as lane departure warning, among other goodies. However, the higher up you go in trim levels, the more stuff Nissan throws at this, and this SL has pretty much all the safety stuff you could ever really want for. Now, I have to give props to ProPilot Assist. It's my first time trying it in the Rogue. I'm really pleased with this system. And especially having experienced Toyota Safety Sense in particular so much, I have a really good reference for, how these systems work in vehicles of this size and, what the expectations should be. Now, ProPilot Assist is Nissan's semi-autonomous driving system. It's radar-guided cruise control, lane departure mitigation, things like that. So basically, when you set cruise control on this car, it basically takes care of everything for you. If you're driving down the interstate, this is a pretty serene place to be. Now, if I set cruise control at 70 miles an hour, say, and there's a car in front of me, it will slow down and pace that car. That's almost kind of common nowadays, but the Nissan really excels at handling Los Angeles traffic. I got caught in traffic in LA, as you do, and this thing took care of all of it for me. I didn't touch the gas, the brake the whole time. And similarly, features like the lane departure assist are pretty good in this case. Now, some cars tend to dart around in the lane as it sees the left and right side markers and tries to kind of keep you centered. This does a pretty good job of keeping you centered, though I will say around sharper bends does tend to hug the outside edge. But overall, it's a pretty good system and definitely makes longer drives much more relaxing. So there it is, the 2021 Nissan Rogue is stylish, well-equipped, and competitively priced. Now all that remains to be seen is whether or not it can finally dethrone the almighty RAV4 in sales.